As I've mentioned before, the process of skinning is about making the armature, the bones, deform the geometry. But there are some bones that we don't want to deform it. So the way we do it, we select the bone and switch off the deform uh, in their properties. Let's make sure they're all off for the IKs, for 4 IK bones and for the root. And now we're all ready to create a connection between the armature and the geometry. So first we select the geometry, then we select the armature and press Ctrl P and choose with automatic weights. This does a lot of job for us. Just the alignment of bones creates some simple connection of the geometry. So let's switch to pose mode and try it. As you can see, it's already moving okay. Things get deformed, but there's some issues like the eyebrows were flying. But there are going to be still some issues that need to be fine-tuned in the way the bones affect the geometry, and the mode we're going to be using for that is weight painting mode on the geometry. Yes, you can see the colors here, and this is if we switch to vertex groups. You see the vertex groups were automatically created for us. When we select one of the groups, it shows us with the heat map how the geometry is affected by that bone. In that case, you can see that the reason of the flying eyebrows was that the eyebrows are not getting any effect from the head bone. So let's draw draw on top of that, and now we're getting like totally red on the eyebrows, and apparently we also need to do that for the lower part of the head. Let's do that. We don't want any other bones but the head bone to affect the geometry of the head. As you can see, if we switch to others are more or less fine. The lower leg looks a little bit weird, but we're going to test it out in poses before we do anything. So the best way to try anything to see how the geometry is affected by the armature is actually to move the armature. So let's start with the head, of course, and rotate it. And you can see it's getting a little bit squished. Yes, it's obviously being affected by something else, most probably the spine. So let's fix that. Let's go to the weight painting mode. On a more organically shaped or more realistic character, this is how we would fix that. We would draw the weights of the bones and try to remove the unnecessary influences. But in that case, I'm thinking this is not the best way, and I'm going to show you one trick how we can do it more easily. And to do that, let's do edit object mode. And when we have one vertex selected, we see vertex weights menu, which describes how this vertex is affected by the bones in the form of a table. In our case, this is what we want. Let's select all other vertices, and the data that it shows right now is the data of the last selected vertex. And when we press copy, this data is just copied around all other vertices. And we want it to be head 1 and all the other bones 0. And right now only the spine was visible. And that, which means that the other ones are 0 for sure. As you can see now that we're back to the vertex weight painting mode, the shape of the head looks the way we want it to. So we've solved our problem, and all is good. Okay, let's go back to the object level and let's reset rotation of the head. As you can see, we can do it with Alt R. That way the bone returns to its initial position. And as you can see, when we rotate the head, again, we're getting some unwanted deformations, but now on the torso. So let's maybe fix that. To do so, we're gonna go back to weight painting mode of the model. And yeah, let's create already the mask for selection because we know what we're gonna do. Let's select the vertices of the torso. Please try to do so. And now in the weight painting mode, if we switch to the head, we can see there's a light color on the torso from the head. It shouldn't be there. So let's set strength to 0 and draw a weight of 0 on the body. Now the head is not affecting these vertices. At least should not be. Let's maybe test it out. Go to pose mode of the armature. Let's rotate it. And yeah, almost fixed, but we're still getting a light deformation in the corner of the torso because I'm assuming we forgot to select the side faces when we created mask. So let's do that. Select these, yes, the side faces here and here. And we can go back to the weight painting mode and do the same thing. Now, yeah, everything is fixed. Let's reset the rotation of the head and see how things are with other parts of the body. Let's see how the hand deforms under influence of the armature. The place where it rotates looks now okay. The deformation here is not perfect, but it's at least it's deforming what we wanted to do, what we wanted to deform, which is already good. Let's see what's happening with the legs. But yes, once again, the deformation is not perfect, but it's quite good for a default. And we're noticing that I missed some spots when texturing. We'll fix that later. For now, I just want to try to put it into some pose and see how the deformations work. Let's go to the yeah. Actually, let's fix that texture now. It's easy now. We can. It's very cool that we can actually texture while the character is in the pose. So this one and the one on the other leg. Good. And let's go back to vertex paint, weight painting. So what we want to do now is using weight painting tools make these transformations that are resulted by the posing of armature, make them look a little bit better. Um, Maybe not as soft transition as we have here. We can use multiple variations of brushes, mostly add, subtract, blur, and draw or set. Um, and this is more than enough for editing those. So I want this area to be like quite rigid, the forearm area. I don't want it to be smoothed out. And depending on your preferences on how you want the character to deform and the stylistics of the character, this might be what you need, but in that case I don't want. The blur brush is very useful because it's very easy to get to mess up the geometry with the weights, and a blur is most of the times going to fix all of these issues.